I imagine God looks down on Earth the same way I looked down on my pancakes this morning. Utter disgust. I couldn't eat. I can't eat. My priest suggested therapy. My therapist suggested a priest. Ironic, ain't it? The past few nights I've been having this dream, yet it felt too real to be fake. I could see, hear, smell hell. I could feel what was happening. Some nights I've woken up with my leg or arm still tingling from what happened the night before. The only constant I have is the time I wake up from these dreams, and the inevitable feeling that something, someone is watching me. It usually goes like this. I open my eyes to the sound of radio static coming from outside my car window. The night sky was looming over me with the same feeling of loneliness that's consumed me since Amelia died. The intense bright lights of the fast food Chinese restaurant contrasted with the dark and empty town. Not a light could be seen for miles, and the only thing I could hear was that damn radio static. I rolled down the window and tried to order some food. "Hello?" I politely said, but there was no response, only radio static. Are you guys open?" I asked again. Still no response. They must be closed, I thought while muttering obscenities under my breath. I drove all the way out here for nothing. Instead of pitying myself over some Americanized Kung Pao chicken, I decided to accept defeat and eat whatever was left in my apartment. No one was behind me, and it didn't seem like anyone was awake at this hour, so I took a couple of seconds to turn on the radio. When I pressed the worn-out power-on volume dial, only radio static came out. What is going on right now? I asked myself. Fine, no music. I sighed. As I made my way out of the parking lot, I noticed there was no exit. In fact, the only place I could drive to was this closed hotel. Before I had time to yell or scream, I got a call on my phone. Amelia. It said in bold letters, but that's not possible. I quickly answered the phone and was ready to fight. "If this is some sick joke, I hope you know that." "John?" The soft, familiar voice of Amelia asked. Tears welled up in my eyes, and I clutched my phone like a Bible. "Sweetheart?" I responded. "How is this possible?" "Sweetie, where do you think you are?" she asked. "I'm in town. I went to grab some food, but..." "No!" she sternly stated in a much deeper voice than before. "Where do you think you are?" I look up and read the hotel sign. "Subconscious. I can't read it. It's not English," I said. "Where am I?" My voice shook with every word. My body felt cold, ice cold. Radio static surrounded my car. The looming feeling of loneliness was replaced with fear. I wasn't alone. And yet I couldn't see beyond the blackened windows and lifeless buildings in front of me. "It's okay, dear," Amelia excitedly assured me. "Sometimes God falls asleep, and an angel ends up in the wrong place." The radio static outside grew louder. "What do you mean by that?" "Hopefully someone will find you. Hopefully he'll wake up." And then I woke up. Normally this wouldn't be a big deal. Grief comes with stress, and stress brings nightmares. But every time, when I finally wake up, it's exactly 3:58 a.m. The hairs on the back of my neck are already standing at attention. One night, I swear I could feel something reaching out to me. Again, I chalk this up to normal grieving emotions manifesting themselves in a messed up manner. My subconscious was just sabotaging me. At this point, I looked forward to my dreams. Though they leave me with an unsettling pit in my stomach, it gives me a chance to hear her voice again. She speaks to me, and it feels like we're having a real conversation, even if that convo is about my future demise. Maybe nightmares weren't so bad. At least, I think they're nightmares. Last night I drifted off to sleep at 9:30 p.m. I knew I would be awoken at the same time, so I tried to get to bed early in case I couldn't fall back asleep. But something was off about this dream. I opened my eyes to a dark road with nothing behind me and nothing ahead. I was driving my car, but I didn't really have a destination in mind. Simply, I was driving. Not a star could be seen in the night sky, and it looked as if my only comfort would be acres of corn that filled fields parallel to me. Though odd, I didn't question it. Amelia was bound to call me, and I wanted to hear her voice, but my phone didn't ring. In fact, there was no sound at all. There wasn't even radio static. I tried to turn on the radio, but there was nothing. I rolled down my window, yet I heard nothing. After a minute or two of searching for sound, the low gas light turned on in my car. Damn, even in dreams I don't get good gas mileage, I said to myself. As quickly as I noticed the gas, I found myself exactly where I needed to be. Up ahead, I saw the familiar bright lights of a local gas station. It only had 2 pumps and a small convenience store. There seemed to be no other cars in sight, not even the owners, but I decided to stop anyways. When I exited my car, I felt the wind brush up against my cheek like the familiar hand that reached out to me some nights ago. A chill ran across my body. I looked up from the pump and towards the cornfield in front of me. Still, there was nothing I could see. There was nothing I could hear. I could only feel the invisible eyes of something watching me. That's when the ticking started. Radio static wasn't so bad, and the silence was ominous, but this ticking sound was insidious. Tick, 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 then nothing. I stayed by my car. The gas was pumping slower than molasses. Tick, 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 then nothing. I finally had enough gas. Tick, tick, then nothing. I opened the door to my car. Tick, then nothing. I was in my car and the doors were locked. Nothing. There was no ticks, no radio. I was back to silence. As I buckled my seatbelt, I felt something behind me. That is when I made the worst mistake since the hot dog eating contest in college. My eyes approached the rearview mirror. I held my breath and put the key in the ignition with shaky hands. Nothing was there. Tick, then nothing. When I lowered my gaze, I caught a glimpse of the creature stalking me. Eyes wide open like a man gone mad. Skin as gray as gravel, a nose bent sideways. Its smile was wide as its cheeks, and hundreds of teeth in all directions. They matched my breathing, and when it slowed down, I did too. The thing crawled up my car on all fours with talon-like feet. The neck of this beast twisted as it tried to get a better view of its prey. I closed my eyes shut, begging God to wake me up. Wake up, I thought. Please, please wake up. Though no doors were open, I could feel it enter my car. Its breath was ice cold, and every muscle in my body tensed up. And thank God, I woke up. I shot up in my slumber, my eyes fixated on my bedside table. 3:58 a.m. The silence in my room was comforting. For the first time, I felt as though nothing was watching me. Before going back to sleep, a notification appeared on my phone. It was probably work. Some of those guys were weirdly ambitious. So, I drifted off to sleep as if nothing had happened. The next morning, I was fixing my coffee and checking the notifications. Amelia. It read across the screen. The number must have been transferred already. That's the only explanation. I opened up the message, expecting it to be someone who butt-dialed me. Hell, I even thought someone was playing a cruel prank on me. Whatever it was, I was ready to send something along the lines of, "Hey, this is my dead fiance's number. Please don't text me again." Yet, the message left me with more questions than answers. "He's finally awake," the message read. "He can finally see you." What the hell? I thought to myself. But before I could respond, the hairs on my neck stood up again, just like before. My breath shortened, my hands were shaking, and the air felt heavy. Tick, 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 then nothing. To celebrate our anniversary, my wife and I booked an Airbnb for the weekend. A cabin on a lake. "Looks like it's about to rain," Amber said as she rolled her suitcase across the porch. I looked up. To the west, the sky was deep gray, thick storm clouds heading towards us at a steady pace. Just our luck, I grumbled, hauling my suitcase out of the trunk. After we'd gotten everything inside, we poured wine and sat by the picture window overlooking the lake. The sky was darker now. The glassy stillness of the water reflected the deep gray of the sky, and the pine trees surrounding the lake swayed in the wind. "Wait! Look!" Amber said. "There's someone out there." At first, I didn't see what she was talking about, but then, as I squinted, I did. In the middle of the lake, there was a tiny peach-colored blob bobbing up and down. Someone was out there, and they were waving their arms around as if signaling for help. "Oh God, are they drowning?" Amber asked, rushing over to the window. You call the police," I said, getting up and grabbing my jacket. "I'll take a rowboat out and try to help." The Airbnb had advertised a small rowboat that we could use. I could be out in the middle of the lake in under 5 minutes. Given how far we were out from town, it would probably take the police 20 minutes to get here. Amber looked at me as if she was about to say something, but then she just nodded. I zipped up my coat and ran outside. The rain had started. A light drizzle blurred the lake in front of me. Wetting my face, I ran down to the docks and undid the knot, then stepped into the boat. It rocked violently underneath me as I sat down and pushed off with the oars. I rowed furiously towards the center of the lake, keeping my eye on the person, but they were a lot farther out than I had anticipated. Even after rowing 5 minutes, my arm muscles burning, I was only slightly closer. I stopped for a second and cupped my hands around my mouth. "Hey, I'm coming to help! Hang in there!" They didn't respond. They just kept waving their arms over their head. Probably can't hear me, I thought. Sucking in a deep breath, I began to row faster. The rain was harder now, thick raindrops hitting the wood of my boat with a tap, tap, tap. Water dripping down from my hair and into my eyes. I shook my head to get it off, not breaking stroke, and continued rowing towards the center of the lake. The person was finally a little closer now. I could see them bobbing up and down on the surface of the lake through the pelting rain, waving their arms furiously above their head. It looked like it was possibly a woman with dark hair, but I couldn't be certain. The oars sloshed through the lake. I was panting and my arms ached, but I forced myself to continue forward. They weren't that far off now. In just a few minutes, I'd probably be close enough to yell out to them, to see them clearly. Flash! The sky flashed white. Seconds later, the rumble of thunder, so loud I could feel it in my bones. I swallowed. This isn't safe. I glanced back at the cabin. It was so far away now. I could see the tiny brown blob that was Amber standing on the docks, waiting for me to return. Maybe we should have just waited for the police. What if I get struck by lightning? I swallowed and turned back to the woman, paddled as fast as I could with all my might. The rain pelted down furiously, running down my face, pooling in the bottom of the boat. The peach-colored blob grew closer and closer, and then I could see her clearly for the first time. Every muscle in my body froze, because as she bobbed on the water, waving her hands above her head, she was smiling. Not just smiling, grinning from ear to ear as she stared at my boat approaching. Instinctively, I grabbed the oars and backpedaled. The water resisted me, kicking up in loud splashes, and then the boat began to slide away from her. Ring! I grabbed the cell phone out of my pocket. It was Amber.
"Drew,"
she breathed, her voice wavering on the other end of the line.
"the police, they said, whatever you do, don't go into the lake.
What?
Some psycho has been swimming out in the middle of the lake, luring people out. Just leave her there. Come back."
She continued talking, but I didn't hear what she said because the woman had disappeared. The phone fell out of my hands. I grabbed the oars and pulled them towards me, rowing backwards towards the shore as fast as I possibly could. I stared into the water, looking for a ripple, a shadow, anything, but it was impossible. With the rain hitting the surface, the reflections of the storm clouds, there was no way I could tell where she was. I rowed faster, my heart pounding in my chest. Glancing over my shoulder, I could see that the dock was still so far away. Amber began waving to me, frantically. Flash! The sky, the lake, the pine trees at the shore lit up. A peal of thunder rang in my ears. I rowed faster, and then I heard it. A tap, tap, tap from the bottom of my boat. I didn't have time to react before the boat flipped over and I plunged into the ice-cold water. I broke the surface and gasped in air, screaming as I grabbed the side of the boat. Something grabbed my ankle and tugged. I plunged back into the water. I struggled to pull myself up, but the iron grip on my ankle wouldn't loosen. I kicked and thrashed, trying to pull myself up towards the shadow of the boat above me, and then the grip released. I broke the surface, gasping. Then I clawed at the boat, desperately righting it. After a few attempts, I was finally able to get myself back inside. I turned it around and rowed as fast as I possibly could, never looking back. Miraculously, the woman didn't follow me. I scrambled up on the dock and Amber hugged me crying. The police arrived soon after and searched the lake for the woman, but they came up empty-handed. Needless to say, Amber and I cut our trip short. We packed our bags and started the drive home just after sun had set. But as we pulled out of the driveway in the darkness, I swear I saw a light winking at us from the middle of the lake, as if someone was trapped out there, signaling for help.